All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ranting Raving Pod. I am your girl, Pink Lee. And today I have a special guest with me.
Skrewtape.
Hey. Skrewtape, tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right. So, I'm a lyricist. I do all sorts of things. I'm a man of many hats, as they say. Even though I don't usually wear one. I forgot to shave my head today, so I threw on the old... the old dusty, but
you can't go wrong with camo though.
Yeah, exactly. It literally goes with everything. Can't go wrong with a good camo hat. But yeah, so I do a little bit of like videography here and there. I've like directed and edited a lot of my own videos and videos for friends and and a little bit of engineering. So I engineer my own stuff too. Nice. But mostly, my main focus is creating songs and stuff like that.
If you guys have not checked out Skrewtape's music, make sure you guys do that. He is not your average. He is definitely fire, very gifted with words. So make sure you guys tap in. And of course, you can always hear him on Stereotype Radio.
Appreciate that.
Our network.
I love that concept of the Stereotype Radio too. I was kind of late to the party on that. I think that was like a really like, it could be like a real powerful movement. It's growing into being. I think like it's like the people's platform. You know what I'm saying? Like if you really get everybody on that on the same page, it's a way for artists, I think, to really develop a fan base.
Absolutely.
Have some streaming numbers get on there, get pushed up.
Absolutely.
So I think that's something that needs to be talked about.
And the best part about it for me is that it's like with you helping yourself, you're also helping the next person at the same time. And that's what I really love about it, because it helps us grow like network and community and things that are super important that artists forget about.
It's always been like at the root of my cause as to why I like do any of this at all, is to feel like I'm, in the mix, part of, part of the community. Right?
Yeah.
So, I feel like every human has that kind of need, whatever your thing is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To have that kind of like outlet, and it's dope to,
to have it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the events that get thrown and stuff like that. I'm always blown away, man. Yeah, Philly is a real melting pot, man. A lot of talent.
Absolutely.
True unbridled talent.
Facts. Yeah. So before we get into these hot topics, we have to give a shout out to our sponsor, Pink Drinks. I've got the Toxic Tea here, and I've got the Cold Green Knockout here. If you guys haven't had a pink drink, I don't know where you've been. We've got all types of flavors. They are delicious. They're tasty, made with love and premium alcohol. So you're going to get lit and you're going to feel good about it. Just don't make any bad decisions off that Toxic Tea. Just because it's toxic, don't get toxic. All right. So I'm going to let our guest pick the first topic. And
you said I don't have to pick from the top.
Nope, so you don't have to.
Shuffle the deck a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, should healthcare be universal? Why or why not? Absolutely. I don't even got to think about that. I honestly, it's one of them don't get me started kind of, conversations. I was lucky enough to get signed up for state healthcare years ago when my mom passed, and I had no sort of situation to be able to care for myself in that respect. And it was a huge weight off my shoulders psychologically. I knew that if anything fucking happened to me, if my dental teeth, I was having problems with that kind of stuff, any health issues whatsoever, I've broken bones, I got scar, I have not had to pay a dime for it. And it's weird because I have some friends, constituents, people in conversations I've had where they'll, who's paying for that? So it's coming out of my paycheck, and they get that kind of like, that's sort of like entitled attitude about things, and you're like, dude, like there's so much that could be paid for, and if you actually do break down the math in what's being taken out of their paycheck for what reasons, none of it's like literally fractions of a fraction of a penny.
Yes, because there's so many people.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's something that got you. Yeah, no. So it's something that definitely is universal. Yeah, I think it should be universally as a human right. Like it blows my mind that we don't have that kind of, and that's why we're like 37th in the world in.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And almost like infant mortality, right? That's like a a big thing, right? Like you don't want babies to die, right?
Exactly.
Well, why does America have like one of the highest rates of like a first world country? You know what I mean? And then don't even get me started about the types of people it affects most. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the communities that for some reason that's affected the most.
That's so true.
And with stuff like universal healthcare, I think that could be avoided and those numbers could be changed.
I believe so. And like just in reference to what you said, there's like people who are against it, because I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I've seen not that I've been in these conversations, but I've seen conversations over the years, like kind of like on Facebook or Instagram, social media, and the conversations will go something like, oh well, here in Jamaica or here in Canada, just other places. I don't know why I said Jamaica and Canada, but whatever. Other places, sometimes they do have universal health care, and they're saying that like it's not good right. because it's quote unquote free, even though it's being paid for.
But
it's
quote unquote free. Here?
That's what I was saying. They were like, oh, the hospital lines are out of control. Like to go to the hospital, like they have people like leaking in the. And
how much of that is stories? Like how much of that is really stories?
But how much of that really goes on here too? Like exactly. I know the last time I went to the emergency room, I was there for like an hour and some change. Waiting. So, and I was in pain. So, I mean, it still had the same things can still happen here.
Yes.
But I also wanted to bring up the fact that universal healthcare is important because just for mental health. Right.
Yes,
think about how many people need therapy or like mental health and they don't have access to it because they can't afford it. But if it was free, then they would utilize it, and the US essentially would be a better place because people would be getting the help they need. Absolutely. So they wouldn't be like having these crazy outbursts or doing these crazy things like all these shootings and random things because they just couldn't take it anymore.
I mean, just the quality of people's lives being affected by levels of depression and all sorts of things. My mom was someone who suffered from mental health issues, and it was really, really difficult to find her help. This was, she passed in like 2015. So, but like the 10 years leading up to that, it was really, really tough to, because they really do just kind of push you through the mill, sort of. They like there was, even when she was able to find help, it didn't seem like there was a lot of how am I trying to say?
Like options.
Options and let's just say personalized care. It was kind of like, they throw a couple pills at the situation.
Yes.
Offer, an hour a week of therapy or something like that. And for someone who's maybe more clinically, out of shape than others, they need a little more intensive situation.
And throwing pills at a person is never the answer. Like I feel like there's so many holistic ways, or just like with me, I don't tell y'all too much, but I'm gonna open up a little bit for y'all today. So I have dealt with anxiety for a long time, right? And at one point I was on. They tried to give me like pretty much like a off-brand of Xanax.
Sure.
And so the first time I took the medication, I fell asleep for like. I mean, like almost a whole day. And I was like, I can't do this. No. So then I reverted to like other holistic ways.
And it's a shame. That's the first thing they gave you.
That's the first thing they did.
And that's one of the most addictive, hard to come off of. You can actually die from a withdrawal of benzodiazepines.
Exactly.
As opposed to other drugs where you might feel like you want to die, but
you won't. Exactly.
You can get seizures and die if you let's just say have a long standing history with it and you try to come off of it. That's
like
the
detox is ridiculous.
That's where they took you for the first.
That was the first thing, and I was like, I'm never taking these again, and I got rid of them. And then, what has helped me is the most simplest thing, which is breathing. Like me, literally, like once I was taught how to focus on my breathing and literally just focus on the breath and like really meditate, that kind of helped me with my anxiety like a whole lot. Like I've noticed over the last few years, I haven't had an anxiety attack in like 5 years or something like that. Like I haven't had any issues with it.
Think about how connected your breath is to your emotional state. Like when you start, you get in an argument with someone, or if something's really, spooked you, or like, you know what I'm saying? You could feel it in your breath. You're shorter, but you're taking these short little stammered breaths, and so like, and that's without you thinking about it. It's literally involuntary. So when you make what is involuntary voluntary, right? You're taking control of that breath. and you're working through the breath, and it's scientifically proven to, like, you know, start releasing different chemicals in your brain once you hit a certain stride with your
Absolutely.
breath. You know, it's telling your body, it's like a hack to your brain.
It literally is a hack.
Like,
Yeah.
Nope, you're safe, you're secure. Make these brain chemicals now.
Yeah,
you know
because
I mean?
and then
Instead
you
of,
like can come to reality and realize, like, I'm freaking out for nothing. Wait, this
Yeah.
is about nothing. Like, you know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things,
Yes.
it may seem important at the time, but another thing is, like, mentally, I always think about just a side note. I always think about is this going to matter in the next year? Is it going to matter in the next 5 years?
And,
right, and most of the time you're like,
is it going to matter in the next 10 days? Yeah,
right.
It might not.
You'd be like, no, I'm good.
Absolutely.
That's how it is.
I couldn't agree more.
Ultimately, universal health care, we both agree that it should be a thing here in the U.S. But we want to ask the guests, audience.
We got money for wars, but we don't got money to help the poor. I mean, it's like it's what some people have been crying about for 40, 50 years. And it clearly shows that they do not care about the will of the people.
They don't really care about us.
It's not a,
they don't care about us.
It's not a democracy.
We want to ask the audience, you guys, how do you guys feel about universal health care? Do you think that it should be a thing? Do you think we're perfect how we are now? Do you think Big Pharma's taken over? What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments what you think. If you have any experiences, just let us know in the comments so we can have this conversation with you guys, the fans watching. All right, so we're going to get into the next topic. I'm about to choose.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to be boring right now. Let's stick from the top. All right, what makes you feel most empowered? What makes me feel most empowered? Y'all already know. Y'all should know. If y'all watch Ranting Raving, y'all should know. Hard work. Hard work. I think I feel most empowered when I'm like working the hardest because I feel like I'm accomplishing the most. And then I feel like I'm like, oh, I could do anything. If I could do that, I could do that. Because last year I couldn't do that. And then 5 years ago I couldn't do that. And if I'm doing that now, I can do this. So I feel like hard work probably makes me feel the most empowered because I almost feel unstoppable.
There's a really good quote about hard work, and I think it was like Henry Ford or someone said it was like, I believe in luck. He's like, and the more hard work I put in, the more out of it I seem to have. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that. Yeah,
you know
I love that one.
It was kind of his like wink at like saying like it's really how much work you put in. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like when I work hard, I really do feel I'm like, wow, I'm doing it. Like, because I feel like when you work hard, before the hard work comes, the plan.
Yes.
So if you have the plan and you're putting the work in to make the plan happen, you're like, oh, I could do anything if I plan it out right. Like, this ain't about
building
nothing.
the intention. You're creating that space, as they say, for it to
be in full
exist and
bloom.
unfold. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, if you don't take sometimes what feels like baby steps or the planning stages, whatever. But as long as you're doing something towards building, it creates its own gravity, sort of, man. And that whatever you're working on starts, gaining mass. You know what I'm saying? And starts, becoming more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
It's like
it feels
and that's
amazing.
It's the most crazy thing for what humans. It's the most noble task for a human to endeavor on is to like create something that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to make it past the stages of just survival and to create art.
To flourish, right?
Flourish,
to live, to thrive.
Exactly. And to be able to then express.
Yeah, express,
you know what I'm saying?
Right?
To get to that stage, it's a high evolution. You know what I'm saying?
And even to tie it back to what we were just talking about, to express, that's another thing that can help people with mental health. Especially like anxiety and depression, like you being able to express how you feel, getting it off your chest, getting it out there. And then in what's even better was like the icing on the cake is for someone to say, hey, I feel that way too. And I appreciate that you said it that way. Or I like the way you put it.
And there's that, there's that sense of community.
Right? Look at it.
No, I don't think it's any coincidence either that because they've been stripping away like art programs and stuff like that from the schools that you're seeing more of the mental health, issues. And people they have no outlet. They have no way to express that creativity.
That's
where they're
so
like,
true.
oh, I played trumpet in third grade. Like, maybe I'll go to sound set, stereo, and join an open mic and play my trumpet. And no one has these skills. A lot of people don't have the skills because, a lot of us learned in schools and places like that.
That's so true.
My parents didn't play trumpet,
Yeah.
But if I learned it in school, like I might become trumpet player.
Yeah, that's so true.
I don't know why I'm stuck on the trumpet thing, but,
but it works. But it's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And then some kids don't even know that they have the opportunity to.
Yes.
They don't even think it's in their realm because it's not available to them in school.
100%.
Like people. I know that I used to do musical theater and I loved musical theater, but I didn't know that like musical theater was a thing until it was offered to me in school. Like I always loved Broadway plays
to that
and
in your
stuff.
Home, really, but
like we always used to go to plays and stuff, but it's not like my parents were telling me like this is how you do that.
Well, that
they weren't telling me that.
Is what schools are supposed to be, what university is supposed to be. Where it was to like make you universal, to like show you more than what you were exposed to in your. You know what I'm saying? In your environment. Yeah, right. So, I mean, and that's what schooling should be. But unfortunately,
it's crazy.
It's kind of God, they even say, school to prison pipeline. Like, that's a phrase. You know what I mean? Because they know how to, like,
oh my God.
Literally just driving,
It's such a real thing. Yeah. Like, when I really started looking into that, like, I was shocked. I didn't it's like when I heard, I was like,
that's the issue with most of the issues.
Like, wow.
Is they're so vast and so
they're too out there for people.
Mind-blowing, but I mean, it's so real that it's hard to wrap your head around, and then that there's all these multiple angles of these things going on at once.
Yes.
Not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but there's so much moneyed interest behind all these causes that it's like impossible not to have powerful, entities,
pulling
shaping
the strings,
shaping the situations.
Yeah,
and that's what.
Just it reminded me of something. Remember how you were saying like you were talking to people and they were saying like, oh, it's money taken out of my tax rate. So even think about like it sparked the Philadelphia soda sugar tax.
Yeah.
It's like, how are schools still being stripped of things when we just started a new fund for this? This is like where's all this money going?
To realize, they're just criminals, literally riding the coattails of the system, pilfering money.
Literally,
and on the biggest level, they're just sending it to other countries. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's become like a joke almost, where like I think people, it's easier to. It's harder to tell people that they've been fooled than to fool them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's easier to fool someone than to tell someone that, like, hey, yo, you got to wake up. This is like all been, all of your tax dollars are going to bad stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're like, no, but my roads and my schools. And I'm like, have you seen the roads? Have you seen the schools? You know what I mean?
That's so true. That's such a crazy thing because it's so true. It's like they'll make excuses, but they have no proof.
Are half-baked.
Yeah,
literally. People are not very well versed in, because to me, if they have an excuse for what kind of truth I'm trying to bring to them in the first place, I usually know that they haven't done their research, or they're not, well versed in their, exactly, or they're right. Yeah. That's they're 85, or like they're not really like. They don't care either way, and they're just kind of going with the
coasting through life.
Yes,
you gotta ruffle some feathers sometimes. Sometimes you gotta go against the grain sometimes.
Absolutely.
And do what's true and authentic to yourself.
100%.
Like think for yourself. Don't just.
You'd be a coward before God if you did anything otherwise. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't get how people. I feel like recently I've had a finger wagged at me for trying to bring light to the truth of what's going on, and with the genocide and shit like that. And I've had like people like kind of wag a finger at me, like, oh, I don't know, you shouldn't be like, probably shouldn't share that kind of stuff. It's like a bad look. And I'm like,
what bad look for what?
Oh shit, damn, bro, I'm sorry.
You're good. But for what? For who though? For what and for who?
That's what I mean. It's such a privileged like mindset to have. Is like, oh well, there's fans of yours that might take it the wrong way, or like in terms of people that are loosely connected to me, like, oh, I have collectors that are of this descent and yada yada, and it's just kind of, and I was like, man, do you hear yourself? Like, you really,
right is right and wrong is wrong.
Exactly, especially
doesn't matter.
for such there's certain things where I'm like, I get it, stay out of it, but like for such moral absolutes as like state powered slaughter, you know what I'm saying, where there's just like literally the most helpless people who can't even form a military to try to fight back, you know, that kind of stuff, and they're getting just collectively punished. That's literally the definition of like all the propaganda that they fed to us about trying to make sure things never happen again, like in World War II. You know what I'm saying?
Literally
what it's like. The
that's
accuser
true.
has every accusation is a confession. And so I'll leave it at that. I don't want to just ramble on that note, but I get what you're saying. I have this like, it's like the least you could do is try to like maybe make people aware of stuff. And if that's what if you're not doing that, stay out of my way. Yeah. Like, don't jump in my DMs, like, telling, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
just mind your business.
Just mind your business, then. Block me or whatever, but don't, like, don't come at me like I'm doing something wrong.
Don't address it.
Like, look at the video, dude.
Yeah. Like, they're more worried about, like, how you feel and you're passionate about it than actually what's going on, which is, like, none of their business.
And I think it's because of individualism in America and in the world today, honestly, where we don't have this community aspect where, like, nobody really is thinking on that level of, like, if it doesn't affect me, does it really matter? You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, like it does. And if you actually are woke enough to like realize
it, yeah.
And I hate that that's like a dirty word now too. Like, whoa,
I know.
Like, it got jacked by like the main culture, and it just now it means like that you're like too woo woo. You know what I'm saying?
We were talking about this a couple episodes ago about how people we were talking about it in a different, like more about social media and like women turning phrases into benefiting them, but it's the same thing in general. Like people will take these phrases and use them for what they want them to mean, and not for what they were intended to, or not their actual definition.
Or even worse, they like try to flip them. They'll completely subvert the definition of it
to benefit themselves or their cause and stuff. And like it's absolutely nasty.
It's nasty work. It really is. It's devilish. That's all I can say. It's like
I like that.
Honestly, and again, it's so astonishing. It's so. Like we were talking about with the conspiracies earlier, like some of it's so depraved that you're like, nah, like it can't. And then like, why couldn't it be that way? Like why? Like, and it is, and quite clearly, every little bit of evidence that comes rolling out shows that we're we're getting the wrong end of the stick here.
I think about that all the time, and I try. So I made myself a promise years ago that I wouldn't get into these like Facebook debates because I used to be one of those.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're talking about, but
emotions going. Yeah.
Yes, and I just have to, and that's a part of like dealing with my anxiety. Like, don't bring in, don't open in, invite. Don't invite that in.
For sure.
But one thing that I always like think about is like think about how many years they told us aliens weren't real. Mm-hmm. And that we were crazy, and that we were, and now they're like, now they're bringing everything out. We've been in. I believe we've been in communication with aliens. We've not like probably not. Hey, how you doing? But like, there's been some. Absolutely, there's been more than we think going on.
Too much evidence to suggest otherwise.
Exactly.
And to be honest with you, even if there's all sorts of theories, obviously it could be us from the future, that kind of thing. Right. But the main idea is that. This seeding of the populations, this what do you call it, foreshadowing, trying to put it in the movies, talk about it, release little tidbits of information so that people start to adjust and get used to it. For 30, 40 years now they're hearing, oh, aliens might exist, there might be this, and now it's not so much of they got the my grandparents have even talked about alien, that kind of thing, where it's not just some like world crushing view changing moment where like they used to be afraid. Like, remember, speaking of podcasts and radio, there was that radio show in the 1920, I want to say, where they said Martians landed in New Jersey and like the town went crazy and like almost burned the place down. Like people were
I gotta look into that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was like a spoof, like they were just doing like a radio show, but like people that tuned in like thought it was an official government announcement. Yeah, it was real. It happened in New Jersey. It was.
I'm gonna look that up. That sounds interesting.
It's very real. It's like it was part of the reason why there's certain like laws on FCC regulations of certain things. You know what I mean?
Because that's so interesting.
How powerful that moment was, where it actually
caused mass hysteria.
Hysteria, correct?
Crazy.
So like that same thing is again with the alien topic is like I think whether aliens do exist or not, we have some technology that they want to start using.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's high government officials or elsewhere, right? Them, right? But in order to do so without mass hysteria, they got to start
slow drip it in.
And then there's also lots of other theories about what can be used as like an alien invasion, even if it is us. Right?
Yeah.
Who's doing the invasion, but to use that as Like, what would we do? Well, how would I say that's not a real alien? And why wouldn't I listen to the laser gun that's being pointed at me or whatever?
Right.
You know, okay, yeah, I'll get in the ship or I'll go into the FEMA camp or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
However they make it.
We're here to save you, human. You know, get it. You know, what am I going to do? Argue with that? Nobody knows. Everyone's dumb as the next guy. You know, right? So that's always been a theory called Project Blue Book. Where they use,
I've heard a little bit about that.
And they use, let's just say, high energy frequencies to bounce stuff off the ionosphere and you can like literally make holograms and portholes and like portholes. What do you call it? Wormholes? And like things that are like portals. That's what I was trying to think.
Yeah, portals.
Right? Portals. But yeah, it's wild. Again, it's beyond our like comprehension even to where like trying to even talk about it in any less capacity, people would be like, you sound crazy, dude. You know what I mean? Like you sound...
Man, I used to try to have these like time travel conversations with people and let's just say I stopped having them.
Right.
I just stopped having them.
Maybe your future self came back to
warn me. Stop. You know too much.
Yes, exactly.
But you know what? I love conspiracies. I used to consider myself a huge conspiracy theorist. I wouldn't say that I'm so much now, but I am super open-minded to things because I just am. This is how I am. Yeah, I feel like you should be. Yeah. But I think maybe we'll bring that to the pod. Would you guys like to see, audience, I'm talking to you guys, would you guys like to see like a portion of the podcast where we maybe like deep dive into like a conspiracy, like one time an episode? If you're interested in seeing that, let me know because I could start doing some research and go, let me know. And that's something I would love to do. So if you guys are interested and maybe hearing about some conspiracies from starting at the 1920s all the way on, please let me know in the comments because we'll get started on ASAP.
Oh, they go way, way back, right?
Yeah, I love more than
oh my god. You know what they call that deep dive, right? A rabbit hole.
Yeah. Right? Oh no, I've been in too many. Yes. Too many. Yes. I did I was obsessed with Scientology for like a year, and I did all this research about like. It was just too much. It was too much.
Well, and that's some of the tactic, right? That like the CIA would use to like discredit and discourage people from going down rabbit holes because there were, let's just say, there's planted ones out there to make people like to throw you off the set.
Throw you off, exactly.
It's called disinformation.
Yep.
It's been one of the oldest tricks in military tactics for thousands of years. So
and it works.
They use it in information as well, like or in like the modern warfare world.
Yeah, even in schools, I feel like they use it as well.
Absolutely.
Like they're trying to. I forget what it's called.
They just straight teach wrong stuff in.
Yeah, and then they
they really had this in our textbooks, and it was like a white pharaoh on the in front of the pyramids. Like they're like, this was really in our textbooks. Like on
this
page
was
7.
Pharaoh, guys. Yeah. He was a little fair, but don't worry, fair skin. But yeah, they're always into that. But we might get into that, y'all. So let us know because that might be something we get into. But it's on you.
Okay.
Yep.
Go right for the top this time.
All right.
Oh man, this was built for me? Like, what sneaker had the biggest influence in hip hop, Nike or Adidas, and why? So I would have to go just off the head with the fact that Adidas is kind of iconic in the culture because of the song. You know what I'm saying? And the story behind how that how that song was originated is kind of hilarious. They're smoking dust and like, you know what I mean? And Russ was all messed up and, came up with the thought of like, oh, but what it did honestly was allow hip hop to be funded by like bigger sponsors and corporations.
Absolutely.
Because after that, Adidas was just kind of like before that, Adidas was kind of like an obscure German running sneaker brand. There wasn't really like much, motion behind them. They didn't really have a lot of they were kind of, from what I understand, even their sales were starting to wane, if you will.
Wow.
But when that happened, they, so it became that's when the tide changed a little bit with hip hop, as it was no longer becoming just what people were wondering was it going to be a passing fad sort of thing.
Yeah,
there was a lot of that kind of talk in the late 80s. Like it really was like, is this isn't music, this isn't real, this is like a lot of it. I think there's racist stuff behind that.
Yeah,
but also I just think musically people weren't sure like, what is this thing? What is it gonna? is it going to last? And when people started seeing the power of how the songs could like, you know, really affect culture and therefore buying habits and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's why hip hop is the number one genre today. It's the number one. It has an effect on literally almost every commercial you'll see. You'll hear whether it's a hip hop beat, whether it's a sample from a hip hop song, or whether it's a phrase. People are using the catchphrase. I mean,
every genre has bended to the hip hop sound now.
Absolutely,
you hear it in country music.
Yeah,
you hear it in you know, to the point where now you got, you know,
hip hop country,
that's
like
you know, Beyonce even just did the, you know, that whole like album, right? But it's like my fiance works at Levi's, and like they had a huge bump in sales because of her song.
I've been seeing cowboy boots everywhere. Huge. Cowboy boots and the hats everywhere with the Levi jeans or with the mini skirts. And and I said this too. I said after she releases this album, everyone's going to dress like they're from Texas. Everyone's going to be a cowboy.
And how is that any different from Run DMC's My Ideas?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's literally the exact same effect. You know? And I think, you know, so I would have to say that. And then obviously again with Yeezy being, you know, one of the first, billionaire moguls to like kind of make a splash in the fashion world as well. From you know, there was nobody really on the Nike side that did that. I mean, and like unless you want to talk about Travis's collabs, which I would imagine he was not hands-on with them in the way that Yeezy was in designing his. Yeah,
most people aren't. Like, most people just kind of like endorse off it. On
ideas. Yes, exactly.
And they're like, okay, colors. Yep. I think someone else said that. I think it was Angel Reese. She was talking Reese. I think. Don't quote me, y'all. But I think it was Angel Reese or Sha'Carri Richardson. One of those two. But, I think it was Angel Reese because she was talking about. They were asking her why she chose Reebok or whatever one she chose over a different one. And she said, because they actually let me be hands-on in designing, whereas the other company was just telling her like, oh, pick a color. We got the shoe. Just pick a color, pick your combinations and like go from there. But she was like, oh no, I want to get, you know, I want to do this for the ladies or whatever she was saying, but like whatever. But so when I came up with that question, right? One, yes, it was catered for you because I did my research and I know you like sneakers. Yep. So I already did my research. I tried to do my research.
I got a lot of Air Max Nike. You know what I mean? That's like that's my particular.
You wear a Nike shirt right now, so I know there's no bias. There's no bias. Yeah. But you know what I was thinking about? So I couldn't decide because like sometimes I was like, oh, what am I going to say? So I couldn't decide because I was like, I feel like Adidas had the huge impact initially, but then I feel like Nike kind of made a comeback because you think about like all the Nike songs, like Air Force Ones. Like you think about
how
Jordan.
How ubiquitous Jordans were. Everyone wore Jordans, you know?
So I was like, dang, I feel like it's almost like a...
you can't wear that. Everybody wear those. You know what I mean? Like, for real though. I mean, that's where you kind of get this. That's why, you know, I think Yeezy made such a splash because he was able to like sort of capture everybody else that like felt like, yo, I don't want to just wear what everyone else got. Like,
he touched everyone. Like my dad. My dad wears Yeezys. He got like a bunch of different pairs.
He actually concentrated on the comfort level. And so,
that's
like,
probably why.
Yo, they're mad comfy. Like, you put a pair of 700s on, they look like a dad shoe. For instance, you know, that's what people couldn't get over at first. They're like, yo, that thing's mad chunky. Like, then, you know, but then that became like the look. But like, those things are comfortable.
Yeah.
I used to garden in mine.
I'm going with comfort over everything.
I swear, yo.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, comfort over everything.
Absolutely. Especially as you get older, my pinky toe is not as forgiving.
So no, for real.
You know?
I think I've put on, like, I've only put on one pair of Jordans my whole life, and they were the most uncomfortable sneaker I could have ever, and I didn't even wear them. I just tried them on. I was like,
terrible.
Yeah, I'm not with this. I don't like them. I've never liked the look of them either. They were gifted to me, and I was like, oh, what a nice gift. I'm probably never gonna wear them.
Right.
Sorry, not sorry. You know what I mean? I just not my thing. Yeah. I'm just getting into sneakers as it is. I like my Chucks.
Nike was more influential in the sneaker culture. Yeah. In the sense that you had collectors and people online for Nikes more so than anything, right?
Yeah.
But not in and I mean, yes, I'm not saying it wasn't influential in hip hop, but Adidas, I think, was more. You know what I'm saying? But within sneaker culture, Nike's probably got the crown.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, there's more lore, there's more sports history. You know what I'm saying? There's more.
I see what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
that makes sense.
In the sneaker culture, if you were to walk into Suplex right now over on South Street and like ask the owners there, like, what's the, you know, I believe they would lean on the Nike side and then the Adidas side. You know what I mean? Like that they have that has the most.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Within the sneaker culture.
That makes sense. So, like, Nike is for sneaker culture overall, sneakerheads overall, and Adidas is more, like, hip-hop based. And you know what? When I was thinking, I never even really thought about Kanye with the Yeezys and the Adidas. Like, that didn't come to my mind. I only was thinking about my Adidas. That's the only thing I was thinking about, because I'm like, I always forget that Adidas...
What's from Yeezy were they were the ones that gave him creative control. They were like, you know what, you can do whatever you want. And, you know, again, he definitely had help. And you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, you could tell he was impassioned behind it. And I think that's what made people want it, because they were fans of him. They were fans of like a new look, you know what I'm saying? And they were like, oh, like this dude is that. I feel like I'm getting a piece of the genius here. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm wearing like some new futuristic
because his whole thing is like his whole thing is very futuristic, and I like it. I like the looks. Like I like the odd looking. Like I'm very into like
colors and some of that cool stuff.
Like
I thought
I love
it was dope. Like
the
I didn't
plain.
People like kind of were like, oh, it's too like out there or something. I'm like, but it's fashion, dude. Like it's what did you expect him to walk people down the aisle in like like a regular t-shirt? No, like I don't know.
And then we gotta realize what kind of artist Kanye is. First of all, I think he's a Gemini. He's a Gemini. So like Geminis are, I hate to put like the sign to the person, but sometimes it does go. He's one of those people who is actually he really exhibits a Gemini qualities, and he's like very much. Just like I'm gonna do exactly I'm gonna do the opposite of what you expect me to do every time, just to throw you off, because that's what Gemini is.
That's part of the art for him. That's part of the art. That's the Andy Kaufman in him. Like, where it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's because artists at that level, it becomes, everything else becomes passe and sort of boring to them. Like where they have to like, you know, take the art to that next dimension of like breaking that fourth wall, as they say. You know what I mean? Like talking to the audience in a different way. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Because so many people are going to copy what they do anyway, so they're going to have to take it to the next level every time just to stand out, even though they were original and an exception. But yeah, I definitely get that. But yeah, so we're rocking with Adidas. Let us know in the comments, you guys, what sneaker or sneaker brand rather do you guys think was more influential in hip-hop? We've already given you some facts to go off of now, so don't get too crazy in the comments, but would you choose Nike or Adidas or another brand, and let us know why. So next up, I'm about to get into a topic, but I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna go in the middle. Okay, should there be a mandatory retirement age? Why or why not? I would say no. I feel like some people might argue this, but I would say no, there shouldn't be mandatory retirement age. I think there should be, because even think about the retirement age, like from when I was a kid, I remember like going to like my parents' friends' like 50th retirement party. It would be like their birthday / retirement party, and they would turn like 50 or 55. Like I remember going to quite a few of those. And it feels like now there's people in like their 60s and 70s and they're still working. And if you want to, I feel like that's a great thing for older people, because some people say they pass away when they stop working because they don't have any purpose. I think that when you get up and work, even if you, like, mind you, working for a job is cool, but working for yourself is even better, because
he worked for himself and he lived to be 95 years old. See? And he worked until he was 93, and he only died at 95 because he broke his hip and then complications after that. Yeah. But he would 100% would have agreed with you that having a reason to get up in the morning, people to go see that depended on him, and they needed their clothing for the, you know, he was a tailor and a dry cleaner. He's a tailor. Okay, right? What did he do? He's an old Italian guy, just would, you know, take care of that stuff for the neighborhood, you know. That's lit. He had a store, you know, but like, and it was less than a mile away from the house, so but he still drove it. Like 92 years old, he was still driving. You know, then we started getting a little concerned. So that would bring up maybe my next point would be a caveat to it, was like, I think for certain jobs, maybe like if you're like a public bus driver and you're like, you know, like 97 years old, like there should be like a mandatory
you gotta
age,
retire.
Like, and I think also on the other side of that, right, that it would be dope if it was optional, like not mandatory, but like optional for everybody, like on some universal healthcare stuff. Yeah. That like once you hit 65, like you could just check into whatever, like, you know, old folks community that'll take you. Yep. If you don't have the ability to, like, really you don't have to get up, it would be great. I mean, let's just say that's why we had Social Security. That's the reason behind it. It was like so grandma didn't have to eat cat food because she was poor because she couldn't work anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like her son died in the war. She can't, get what I'm saying? Like
she can't take care of herself.
As a society, you got to remember, not everyone's got the same story. And there's, out of millions and millions and millions of people, there's hundreds of thousands that like can't care for themselves for one reason or another. True. And there should be money in the system for those people.
Now, right?
Some people would jump up and call me a communist. You know what I mean? Or a socialist, whatever. And
there's like a lot of benefits to that, though.
Like it's a dirty word.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's so many benefits.
Everything you love about this country it's a socialist program or a communistic program, if at best. You like having roads? It's paid for by everybody. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? You like having schools, right? And when they were, let's
think about why they tried to push
the same reason. You like having Social Security, or anything like that. That's the same thing. So why not have more of that? Why was like everyone's so afraid of that?
They're so afraid.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think it's because it's been ingrained in them that like, if everyone has that, I won't have my leg up. It's in there. I mean, I'm telling you, it's in people's like brains and hearts. They're like, it's like somehow ingrained in them that I won't have enough.
Yeah,
if everyone else gets some too.
Yes.
And it's like, dude, life is more about that, and you only realize that once you have. And I think that's what that's why they don't want people to have stuff. Yeah, they don't want people to have access to certain information and just experiences in life, because once you do, it's hard to put that genie back in the bottle.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
think about why
people are awake. They're like, I don't want to go back to like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
living for less income or less.
Yeah, living regular or whatever.
Right. And even if regular is really not like, the regular should be the upper living. You know what I mean? The better side of living. That should be the regular.
Yep.
But they make you feel like that's
too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a big reason why they tried to push out communists. Like even in the 50s, there was like this big witch hunt because they wanted the country to be set up how it is now.
Absolutely.
And if we had other options, we might choose those other options
that we could vote for, and they would run on the stance of, hey, we're not going to do this thing for war, and we're going to give school lunches back, and we're going to do all, people would vote for that. They knew that.
And there wouldn't be all those little hands.
So they want a controlled opposition. They want just the two sides that they know they can control. They got the Republicans and the Democrats, and this is literally the capitalist party. It's just two options. What the hell is his name? I can't remember his name, but the quote was, there's only one political party in America, but in typical American extravagance, they have two of them. You know what I mean?
That's a good one.
It's what the hell is his name? I'll think of it later. But
that's actually a super good one. It makes you think for a minute. I was like, wait, what?
Like, aren't you stating the obvious? And you're like, oh yeah, but that's the way Americans are. Like, we just we're greedy. We're like, let's take two of them.
So greedy.
Are you the type of person that when you realize there's 3 slices of pizza left, do you take one or do you take all
two,
of
so that way exactly. I'm not gonna take all of it, but you can have this little piece, and I'm gonna take the two bigger pieces. Or do you cut one in half and like try to, and I mean, honestly, that's what some of the lessons in the Bible were about. That's I think there was the true meaning behind like the feeding of the fish and the you know what I mean? It was like with this love, he like made it happen. You know what I mean? And like made sure everyone was fed. Like not just only the rich guys get to eat the fish and you guys can have the bread or whatever. I don't know. I haven't read the story something
in a
like
while,
that.
But you know what I mean?
But that's like a realistic
that's the
thing.
Metaphor behind
it's the selflessness.
It's the selflessness. Exactly.
The community.
Yep.
The community.
Again, humans have always been raised in small communities, if not big communities, in certain times and civilizations, but like always in direct connection with every part of it that made it work. Like you had to go see the butcher or the guy that knew how to make tools for your garden. It was like, and you depended on people, like, and you had to have a level of like, on like the most natural primal level of like respect. And like, I see you as a human being,
and trust.
What I mean? And trust. Yes. It's a beautiful thing, and I think it when you have those human experiences, it builds up your spirit, right? And like you don't become as breakable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think in the early, let's just say, or late 1800s, right? It was a nation of like farmers and people that kind of had that sort of backbone, if you will. And that's where the school system and all that stuff started to come into play, where they were like, well, we need to like sort of break these people down into like a little more obedient, a little more like take a crap sandwich type of people. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, Billy Bob Joe don't take no crap. You know what I'm saying? But call him William now and like make him like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have to show up on time, show up on my time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not his own when he wakes up on the farm. You get what I'm saying? Though?
Yeah, it's a real thing.
And it's a real wave that went throughout America that sort of, you know, attracted people to the cities and made everyone start to think in a different way.
Absolutely. I don't think people think about it like that, though. I think people have this like every man for himself sort of thing, so they don't even like individualism. Yeah, so they don't even break it down to even think that far into it. That's to be like, wait, if I do this could help the next person, which could help the next person, which ultimately makes the world a better place.
That's why education is so like paramount, like so important. But that's why they want to do away with it in certain ways, because like it's the only place you learn certain stuff like this is by people having been around for like this. Not certain types of knowledge has been around for literally thousands of years with a direct lineage, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Of being I mean, from Oxford University was started in 1400s or something. You know what I'm saying? Like out of the Dark Ages, like and they were founded off of knowledge that was older. But the point is that it existed to, again, we like to reiterate that point earlier, to like expose you to stuff and make you think outside of your individualism. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like without that college course that you took in sociology or whatever, right? You might not look at the homeless guy on the street the same way, because you're just, you heard your uncle one time say something nasty about him and be like, he's a drug addict or whatever, and now you just like look at people that way. Yeah. But instead you took a college course now and it
makes you more compassionate.
Yes. Yeah. It exposed you to different truths, different, and the, like you said, connecting all the dots, not just these half truths. Yeah. Like, yes, that guy might have been a drug addict. Yeah. But that's not the whole truth of the situation.
Yeah, how did he get to that point?
Yes.
Like what led him even to there, like knowing at all.
And that's what they call sophomoric, like a sophomore in high school. He's not a senior, he's not a junior, but he's not a freshman. He knows a little something, right? Yeah. It's a sophomoric sort of like explanation on things, like, like we're saying about taking money out of my paycheck, like that's a sophomoric excuse. Yeah, you know what I mean? Of being like, you sound, sophomoric means wise fool. Sophisticated. It means like wise, right? And moronic, right? Sophomore.
Oh, breaking down the word. Yeah.
Fool. Yeah. Sorry, I love that
that's
kind
good.
of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it's. That's what that is. That type of mindset is like, because it's easy. It's intellectually lazy. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? You get to hear a little tidbit. You think you know how it works, and you get to rapid fire it off in the next conversation. Yeah. And you're just passing along the ignorance.
The rumor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like a rumor. It's literally the same. I know my mom always used to tell us, we were coming up, like, by the grace of God, there go I.
I love that one.
Yeah, she always used to say that, because you never know.
It's one of those coded ones where it kind of, if you don't think about what is being said, you're like, wait, what did you just say? There, but for the grace of God. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. You're like, but what you're saying is like, that could be me. Yep. There, but for the grace of God, go I. That there, right there. Yep. But because of the grace of God, that ain't me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, thank you, God, for like not having those problems. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and it's to really like break the, there's wisdom in some of the biblical, stuff. It came
because it still came from that time period that was so far when things were much more simplistic and much more just like I don't want to say easygoing, but in a way compared to today, easygoing.
My pen name, Skrewtape, comes from a book called the Skrewtape Letters that sort of illustrates the modern because things used to be so simple, and it was harder for the devil's work to really have its effect on you when, like we were kind of even saying, with the strong backbone, sort of like everything was a little realer. You know what I mean? It's like you just don't, let me give you for instance, though, I guess, like in the book, it's sort of these letters from a demon to the devil, to like Skrewtape is the demon, right? And he's writing letters back to the devil about how to like better capture souls. Really? And he's like, well, we don't want to make him think about rape or murder or any of that stuff anymore, like, because then he might develop a conscience, and then you got him, or then he's lost forever. Sorry, then he's in the enemy's house, as they would say, and that was God's. Then like even after he committed the murder, like if he's repentant and he's truly sorry, that he will be accepted into the the mercy of that kind of thing, right? But he's like, no, don't do that. Make them like go to church and be proud of being humble. Take the best virtue, humility, and wreck it with the worst sin, pride. Make him think that he's a good Christian or a good
holier than thou type of thing.
And it's the simple things where he was like, he was quoting little script where it's like, don't be the person that if someone like offers you food in their house, oh no, not for me. I won't have any. Like, no, if it's time to celebrate or if there's a dinner, and someone offers, like, partake. And it was that kind of like energy where it was like, don't. And I just always thought that was like a dope book. The
what is it called again?
The Skrewtape Letters.
Skrewtape Letters.
And it's written by C.S. Lewis, who is actually the author of the Chronicles of
Narnia. Yep. Yeah, that was such a good series.
But he wrote like a lot of these deep philosophical Christian books. Like, and I'm not like particularly a Christian, but like, you get what I'm saying? I was brought up in Christian culture. Sorry,
did you read the Chronicles of Narnia?
No, I've never read anything else by him, but
that because there's like apparently a lot of like it's so funny you bring that up. There's like a lot of conspiracy behind that, even about like how they go into the cloud, like the portals and going into different dimensions, and like there's a bunch of conspiracy. That's so interesting.
That book would have some deepness to it that is able to be dissected because of how the other books were. You know what I mean?
And in the book, y'all, not the movie, because the movie is not gonna.
It's different, right?
You always see. I'm a firm believer.
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis. I'm a firm believer that the book is always better than the movie, because every time I've read a book and saw the movie,
lost in translation.
Yes, or they gotta
add something.
Yeah, they gotta add something for pizzazz or razzle dazzle.
They always show a romance.
Oh my god, it's so annoying, and it's just like it's not like even like I'm thinking of the autobiography of Malcolm X. When I read that, my dad made me read that when I was like 9 or 10.
And then seeing the movie was like not.
Yeah, it was like
gratifying.
Like the book like had me shook. I was like, oh my god, they did that to his dad. They did that to his dad. But then you watch the movie, it's just like, oh, he's walking on the train tracks. That's it. It's
there's
like
something powerful about reading the written word.
Yes,
where it engages your mind in the hologram.
Yeah,
like you're participating in it,
and you're creating the vision in your head by yourself.
And it's so much more tied into your senses, I think, than just having it spoon-fed to you completely visually.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's so different, but make sure y'all check that book out. I'm going to check that book out. I'm currently in the middle of a book, but I'm trying to get back into like tangible books and actually reading, because I know it helps my mind. I'm going to check it out.
It's an easy read too. Every chapter is literally like a page and a half long.
Oh yeah.
It's just like an easy read. He's like, because it's just little quick letters. Like, so I was, and he's like with the human that he's like following around, sort of, and like they're like,
so he's like preying on this human.
Yes.
Oh, and he's writing it back, telling him how to.
Again, that's not how I believe things are. I don't think there's like little devils following us around. But
but that's
the metaphor of it was like all these insidious little ways of thinking, where it was like the guy was onto something. He was having a real revelation, and he was like the demon or whatever was like, make him think that it's better to come back after lunch and getting some food and and like revisit that thought, and even just something as simple as a distraction sometimes, like, and the guy like did, and he was like, and he like forgot all about what he was like. You know what I mean? The revelation he was having. So it's
so
don't be fake humble, y'all. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
that was
definitely take that advice, because that's definitely words of wisdom. But for sure, take that advice. But that's so crazy. So we're gonna take a little break. When we come back, we're gonna get into some more juicy topics before we end off. So make sure you guys stay locked in, because once you locked in, ain't no switching up. We'll be right back, y'all. All right, guys, we are back from our little break. Shout out our sponsor, Pink Drinks. Make sure you get a pink drink. Follow us at PINKKDRINKKS, and you can click that link in the bio, which will take you to our order form, or you can just shoot a DM, because you guys are lazy and y'all just like tapping in the DMs. Either way is cool. We're gonna get you your order. Also, I'll be putting out a list of my prices. A lot of you guys have been asking me about whether I do parties and whether I have, just larger options. I do a bunch of stuff. I've done funerals. I've done all types of stuff. So I will definitely let you guys know the prices soon. So make sure you guys are checking out the page for that. And make sure you guys are following Ranting Raving Podcast on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to Skrewtape Radio and follow Skrewtape Radio as well on YouTube and Instagram to stay up to date on what we have going on, because we got a lot going on, y'all. Got to tap in. So we have a couple more topics left. It's on Screw to pick a card. I don't know which one he's gonna pick. Oh, he's gonna pick number one. Number one.
Do you think hip hop is dead? Why or why not? Ooh, that was like the the sentiment back when Nas dropped that.
Hip hop is dead.
Yeah, right. At that era, things had sort of shifted, and like, it was I feel like this is like a bit of a misnomer, like where like it's definitely not dead because of the way it exists now. It's in so many pockets in incredible ways, and even there's been even some like somewhat mainstream renaissance of certain sounds, like with the Griselda movement and all that kind of stuff, right? Where like some of the real like
the spitters,
let's just say there was more attention. Not even just that it sounds like a certain era, but that more so, it's concentrated on the lyricism and the attention to production, the way those two mesh, and the overall feeling that you get from it, that there's this level of authenticity to it, where it doesn't seem like there's because there is you can't stop the evolution of music. Like the sound, like what hip hop is going to sound like is going to evolve. Like you said, we talk about how ubiquitous it is. It's in every genre now. If anything, there may be only hip hop pretty much now, and like these other genres are like
dying off.
Yeah, just kind of dying off. But yeah, to some people, I would imagine that they would say it's dead, but I think it's alive. Anytime I go to like a place where like two or more gather in its name, you know what I'm saying? Like if two people are engaged in the craft in some way, shape, or form, like it's there, it's alive, it's alive. Just as, but how popular it is and how much attention it's getting in the mainstream, whatever you want to call that, that arena, which has kind of changed. Like there's still big money behind a lot of that stuff, but there's so much independent motion out there for different ways, you know what I mean, that it does give me hope that like if you could have 1,000 fans, right, and you can get them all to give you $100 over the course of a year, somehow, some way.
And there's so many ways to do it. Literally. That's a great way to think about it. That's an amazing way to think about it.
You have to try to break it down that way if you really are like thinking about making it your like calling and your like vocation, let's just say. It may be your calling, but it's not your, vocation unless you're getting paid for it. And like if you could do it like that though, it's possible.
It is.
You can kind of break it down in that exact way and see it for what it is, or if you can get $50 out of that 1,000 fans,
literally
$50,000 that you could put into your next,
situation for them to give it right back.
2.0, you know what I mean? Your next version.
That's so true. And I love that. And I love that you said that because there's so many different ways it can be done as well.
Absolutely.
Like there's so many people limit themselves to like, I'm just going to go to the studio. I'm just going to record. Maybe I'll shoot a video and that's it. There's so much more. Like there's so much more work that has to be done. Like you have to engage with people. You have to interact with people. You have to make every fan or potential fan feel important and special. And like you're speaking to them, that they can relate to you, that they could. You have to make them feel that way, or else they're going to go because the market's flooded.
And
let's be clear.
Sense, it really is a marathon because you can't really just do that overnight. Like you have to be in the mix like for years. And that's like us being here today is a testament to that. Like I was even just thinking back to that show we were saying the Jizza show or whatever that me and Boog were at. Like that was 8-9 years ago or whatever. Like and it's connections and relationships that you build through.
Staying consistent.
Yep, exactly. And so I've always found myself like trying to say yes to life, as cliche or corny as that might sound. Because like every time a show would come up and there's that instinct in me sometimes to be like, nah, like I'm not traveling all that way to go to this for nothing. Like maybe if I'm not safe performing, but like I was invited out, or like that'd be like a typical example, right? But like I usually wind up making myself go because like we were talking about earlier, we're getting old. It's like hard, sometimes it's hard to muster up the same enthusiasm for like things after all these years, right? So, but my point is that every time I do go, which is pretty much every time, it always winds up being like something monumental happening. Like
Yeah.
I wind up meeting somebody that's like really helpful in making a connection for me, or like I'm just inspired in a way where like I see a band that I wasn't expecting to see, and I'm like, yo, like I forgot about how like great live music sounds, and like you know what I mean. Like I'm so glad I came tonight. Like you know what I'm saying. So like that's my takeaway from this one is like, you know, hip hop's not dead, and like like go out and like make it. You know, like be at the you are, you know. You make the scene. Like the scene is the people that are in it, and so if you're not out there like in the mix, like, you know,
nobody is going to know your name
if you're not there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
if you're dead, it's dead.
It's dead. Exactly. Yeah.
I agree. I think that hip hop is. I'm not going to say more alive than it's ever been, but it's definitely super lively. Like there's so many different. There's so many different avenues. There's so many different ways that you can connect with people. Like you said, even coming out. Like my new favorite thing is I love rapping with a live band. Like that, it gives you this feeling where you're like, like you just feel you could take over the world. Like this is like an amazing feeling, and then just the live. So it's making me almost like I was telling someone the other day, I was like, I almost don't want to rap over beats no more. Like it's almost like I just like let me get that live band in the studio. I don't want to be that diva who's like, I need this, I need that,
it's a completely
I need
different
this in the studio. But it's like you want that energy, like,
and that's what you do it for, is the energy exchange. Like, it really is like when you're in that moment, it's real, and it's and you can only get it from certain like.
Every time.
I remember the open mics at Maxie's. They would on Temple campus. They would have live bands. They were playing the backup, and it was always like, I mean, and MCs cut their teeth and sharpened their skills there for years because of that backup band. Like they were just, you know.
And the ones that are scared. You're gonna be it's gonna be known that you're scary.
Oh yeah,
because you know some artists they don't wanna, they won't because they feel like. It's the same thing as artists like perform over their lyrics almost. Right. Like they have this, this is exactly how it goes. But it's like you have more of a safety net when you're just free, when it's just a track or when it's just a band. Because a
good drummer will read your time in. They know how to give you a pause, you know, and likewise with the other members of the band.
Yep, and they can be creative with doing their thing. You can be creative. They can switch it up, but that also comes with
like that's what jazz was. Like it's really like hip hop comes from a jazz background, you know, right? So it's got this. You know, that at no other time do I feel that it's more jazzy than when I'm rocking with a live band, because you can really experiment with your tones. They're playing a slightly different melody than what you had written it to, and all of a sudden your voice is doing other things. You know what I mean? And
your flow's doing other things. Yeah, but that's important.
You learn.
Yeah, you do learn
like how to be a better music, like
to be
songsmith, you know,
to be a songsmith, but it's important to be comfortable in your lyrics and comfortable in your artistry and comfortable as an artist, because if you're scared and you're nervous and you don't practice and you don't like work on mastering your craft, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to get up there and freeze. You're going to get up there and pause. So it's an ultimate test to where you are in terms of like comfortability in your craft. Cause I've seen it. I've seen people like, nah, I don't want to do the live band thing. I just want my tracks. It'd be like, what? You don't know what you're missing.
Exactly.
You know, so it's sort of that thing. But if you scared, get a dog. So I'm gonna pick the last card of the evening. I'm having a hard time picking between 6 and 4. I'm trying to see, like in my head, I'm like, what number means more to why? So I'm just gonna go like this, like this, like this. Okay. If you could know the truth behind any secret or mystery, which would it be and why? Ooh. I forgot about this one. I don't know. There's so many. I want to know the truth behind everything. Tell me. I think that this question was thought of with like conspiracies in mind.
Right.
I want to know, this is so crazy. There's so many, but like what's coming to my mind now, I want to know where Ron what's his name? Hubbard is. Where is he? He disappeared. They never found his body.
Really?
They never found his body. I would love to know where he is.
Or are you thinking of Jimmy Hoffa?
No, Jimmy Hoffa too. Jimmy Hoffa too. But
Ronald Hubbard's disappeared.
Yeah, because he
I didn't know that.
Because he was
wanted. The guy of Scientology, right?
Scientology, right? He was wanted by so many different countries. There was like other countries after him that he was in. Literally, the last person who saw him, he was in this body of water that was literally uncharted, like not uncharted, but like it wasn't any water international water. So it wasn't anyone. No one had like rights to it. So jurisdiction, right? So he was there, and then no one seen or heard from him again.
He must have been like a CIA plant or something.
Like, I think so. Like Dianetics really like, in itself was such a like weird
a CIA thing, man. Yeah, I swear they like were trying to create a religion or something and like experiment on the population and
because you think about it was all based about being the best person you could be, and then it turned into this big money grab,
if you will. But it's
and then it turned into the money grab. So it's like, where is he? Where's his wife? Where's his son's wife, rather? Because no one ever found her either. It's just like I'm so intrigued by that whole situation and how like
I didn't know he was like that his life ended mysteriously. His whereabouts were.
No one knew.
I didn't know that.
I would love to know.
I thought he died of fat, rich,
He definitely did. He died fat and rich, but we just don't know where or like how. I think there was like a conspiracy that I read that like his son killed him. Yeah, there was something like as younger. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, but I would love to know that.
Wild things happen, man. That's
wild things.
Yeah.
How about for you?
I would say the alien thing we brought up earlier.
Aliens?
Like, I would like if I could get the official files on, what kind of propulsion systems we got going on, and who and what we may know about them, and what they are, or who they are, or if it's us from the future or us from the past that left and developed out there somewhere else, and now have come back, or they figure out time travel.
Yeah.
Who knows,
Listen, I think that we're going to figure that one out sooner than later.
Yeah, I would think the aliens are going to get dropped on us in our lifetime. Like some sort of knowledge about that.
Oh, for sure. And I can't wait.
Available.
I can't wait. Because they
declassify stuff too after
a certain amount of
years or something like that. So certain stuff just becomes public information apparently. But even that, like I still have trouble believing that kind of stuff where I'm like, if you really were this like entity that was trying to control the population, like I would still find a way to remove that information, you know what I mean, and not put it out in the unclassified stuff.
And they can do it,
right? But me and my buddy often talk about this theory of like they have this thing called civilizing the barbarian, and it's like that again. If they want to start using the technologies that they want to use and stuff like that they have to roll them out a little bit and sort of drag along the lowest of society to like. And so they seed the information out there a little bit to sort of drag along the barbarian, if you will.
That's interesting.
Civilizing the barbarian. I think it's like a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like
I've heard the term before, and then it often comes up in our conversation about like, wait, but why would they allow this technology to come out if they're trying to control us? Because we like try to have a thorough examination and stuff. I'm not just some wild conspiracy theorist. Like we like check each other on the
facts that we do have.
Like, well, how do you know that, or did you just hear that? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, right? But like, the theory often boils down to like, well, I think that they allow certain things to be like pressure valved and like leaked into the, you know what I'm saying? Like to let off a little steam. Because if it was like, well, no one's talking about this. It's never allowed in the media. Like, it's gotta be real, right? There's all this evidence. But if you see it in movies and they allow it to be like almost made fun of and like ridiculed, like, it's just, you wear a tinfoil hat. It's like, it's more effective than you realize. Like, it's like in the CIA handbook, ridicule and dismissal, like just completely like no, like
you're nuts.
That's not a real thing. Like sorry, and then ridicule on top of that is super effective.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, whoever had their experience, like let's say back before they had camera phones, they didn't have no way to like
Man.
So that would be me, aliens. I think.
Yeah,
but
That's a good one too.
I think I would love to know every.
Yeah, I just want to know it all the conspiracies. Let me know the insider scoop because I need to know. Y'all been wrecking my brain for half my life.
Yes. But shout out to the YouTube rabbit holes.
No, don't shout out to you. There's been many sleepless nights with those YouTube rabbit holes. I'm done with that. Over it. This is why I only watch funny videos when I'm on TikTok. If I make my posts on TikTok, I might scroll a little bit and I only watch the funny ones because those conspiracies on TikTok, that's a new age of conspiracy. conspiracy that I do not have time for. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, they're just coming up with anything like, yeah, did you know that apple seeds, if you eat one, you know what happens? And you're like, oh, I can't eat apple seeds anymore. Like, no accidents. Right. I got to slice perfectly now because it's always just something on TikTok and
there's
they
cyanide in them or something.
Oh
really
my God.
Like,
is it?
It's not going to kill you if you eat one of them, though. You know what I mean?
Good to know. It's really good to know.
No, but if you grind up apple seeds like in your juice a lot, it's not good because it's like you should core your apples if you're juicing. Yeah, because then like you're cracking the seed, releasing, and with a bunch of acids, you're kind of like maybe.
That's interesting.
Some of that cyanide leaks out. Not that it would kill you, but it's probably not good for you.
See why I can't scroll? Because I'll be like obsessed with apples for a year. I'm like, did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know? Because I'm one of those like, did you know people? Like, did you know that I always have like a Snapple fact? It's ridiculous.
There's a good one floating around where it's like, don't get chickens because you'll become a conspiracy theorist because you'll realize the chicken's eggs are so good, and then you ask, why is the chicken's egg so good? And you do start doing research, and it goes down this rabbit hole. It leads you to like, you're like, just take the red pill and like be ignorant.
Ignorance is bliss.
Sometimes don't get your own chickens. At the end of it.
Yeah, sometimes it gets too much. But you guys in the comments, let us know what conspiracy theory would you guys like to know, or what piece of information, if you could know anything, what would you want to know the truth behind? I know there's so many, but let us know in the comments.
JFK. Right?
Oh, JFK.
That's a whole other one.
Oh my gosh. Shout out to Jackie Onassis for like picking up her husband brain with so much class. I got a bar about Jackie O, and it's like so funny because a lot of like hip hop heads don't know Jackie Onassis.
Brains in the back of the whip, like
and she just like gracefully just kind of like picks up her husband brain. It's kind of like just sitting there like with such class and grace. It's crazy.
It's an insane,
Listen.
A lot of theories on that one too.
Like, there's so many on that. Yeah. Like, oh my God.
There's some good ones out there.
Yeah, even what's the Abraham Booth, John Wilkes Booth. There's so many. I could go on for days, but we're about to wrap up the pod before we turn this into a conspiracy podcast and we be in here for 4 hours because it can happen. Again, shout out to our sponsor, Pink Drinks. Make sure you follow the Ranting Raving Podcast. Make sure you are subscribed to Skrewtape Radio. We are actually gaining subscribers almost daily, so I really do appreciate you guys for tapping in to everything we have going on. Make sure you're following them also, and make sure you guys are tapping into Skrewtape sound sessions in general and everything we have going on. Thank you so much, Skrewtape, for coming in. Is there anything you want to leave the people with?
Oh man, stay tuned. Got a couple projects dropping. And appreciate you guys having me.
Of course, you're welcome back anytime. Thank you guys so much, and make sure you guys stay locked in because once you locked in, ain't no switching up. We'll see you next week.